This is the Tire Kickers. Classic car chat with Max and Matt.
Hello again, we're back and we're talking about beautiful classic cars. But you know what? Not every classic is a beauty. Some are just too fugly for words.
It's true, so we'll name and shame the worst offenders and ask how and why did they make them look so bad?
You're listening to the Tire Kickers with Max and Matt.
Also on the show, does anyone give an F about the MGF? They're bargain basement cheap. So is it time to look again at this mid-engine motor?
Plus, we talk about the importance of being idle. Is a driveway warm-up the right thing to do? Or should we just get the wheels turning and warm up on the move?
We'll also hear your views on his new Stag and update you on my SL. Plus, we'll discover how one of you listens to us in luxury.
So slam the door, then open the door because you can't put your belt on and slam it shut again as we buckle up for episode 38 of the Tire Kickers.
Right then, Matthew, look at your screen, because I'm going to show you something that was once the world's most expensive car. But here's the thing, it was also arguably one of the world's ugliest, the Rolls-Royce Camargue.
Ooh, okay, I see what you mean. What's your problem with it in a nutshell?
Pretty much everything, to be honest. I mean, the axle is too narrow, so it kind of sits on top of like a narrow gauge axle.
Oh, yeah.
The front headlights are just awful. They're kind of really gormless. The rear of it kind of overhangs too much. The car's too big for starters. I mean, it was 230 kilograms more than a Silver Shadow that it was based on. And it's just too big a design. It's too ugly. It's too slab-sided. And this is the most expensive car in the world, remember. It cost 5 Jaguar XJ12s.
Wow.
Yet they managed to make it so ugly that it's kind of always been an embarrassment for Rolls-Royce, I think.
It looks a bit Thunderbirds, doesn't it? It's got those sort of ugly, sort of slabby, like two pairs of headlights at the front. As you say, if you look at every bit of it, it kind of looks like, I don't know, it looks like 3 different cars put together, doesn't it? What were they thinking? Because at this sort of time, 79, the Silver Shadow Mark II was still for sale. I mean, was it that thing going into the 80s, that modernity, there was a push to sort of make things look more slabby? Because cars did go more slabby, didn't they?
This is a 70s design, though. I don't think it was about going into the 80s. I just think it was a botched car, and they were just trying to make a statement. Remember, this car sat above the Corniche in the range. This was the Rolls-Royce range topper, and clearly they were trying to do something different. But all they ended up doing was alienating a lot of people in this strange Rolls shape. Because if you think of the Silver Shadow, that's kind of curvy and relatively narrow. For a big car, I think the Silver Shadow looks relatively small. But this is an even bigger car and looks just fat and bulbous and just wrong. The proportions are bad, aren't they? Like you said, it looks a different car at the front than it does at the back.
Yeah, when you go around the back, it's not much better, is it? Do you know what it reminds me of? Was this Pininfarina?
This is a bloke called Paolo Martin, who also designed the Fiat 130 Coupe and the Lancia Monte Carlo. So both designs of the 70s. Here's a Fiat 130 Coupe actually on your screen now. Have a look at this. It looks exactly like the Rolls-Royce Camargue, except it's got different lights. I mean, basically, he had one trick and he used it again and again.
I mean, I prefer that Fiat, really. That kind of looks, I mean, it still looks a bit weird at the front. Going back to the Rolls-Royce, do you know what it looks like? It looks like a concept design that normally they would get to the management. They go, no, it can't look like that.
Yes, it's a strange design because all the designs up to this point were Rolls-Royce and they outsourced it to Pininfarina, and somebody in Rolls-Royce obviously said, oh yeah, that's fine, let's do it. Really, they should have gone for a Silver Shadow Plus rather than something completely alien to the design language of Rolls-Royce.
We saw a few of these at the weekend, didn't we, up at the Rolls-Royce show up at Brooklands, and they're no better in the flesh, are they really? Or is it an acquired taste?
Some people are saying they're kind of back in fashion, but I can't see it, to be honest. They didn't make enough of them to actually make them common, but we walked round 2 or 3, and actually I just still couldn't get on with it. I find the way that the rear wheels tuck underneath the rear wheel arches is quite odd. It looks like a train with a track that's too narrow, like one of those narrow gauge railways.
I mean, if you look at the evolution, the Rolls that came in the 80s were a bit slabby as well, but they weren't as ugly as that. You mentioned this Fiat 130 Coupe. Let's throw that up on the screen. 1973. It's in a dark blue. It's a similar shape, but I would say this looks more classic Italian than that Rolls. You go around the back of this, and it does look like a Fiat. It looks like a Pininfarina that's been finished off. I don't mind this. I wouldn't call that fugly, would you?
No, I think the Fit 130 Coupe is a nice looking car, isn't it? But it's just, you can see where that Camargue came from, because basically they shoved a bike pump up the tailpipe of the Fit 130 Coupe and pumped it up and just made it a bit bigger. But it's just a bit disappointing, isn't it? Because there isn't really a unique design language from Rolls-Royce in the Camargue. It's a Fiat 130, which is a bit bigger.
Now, if we're talking ugly, there is one car I've always thought looks a bit odd, Max, especially for a sports car. Now, on paper, it sounds good. 2.5-litre V8, British soft top. No, it's not stacked. And from the back, it looks okay. But when you come around to the front of this thing, it looks like a guppy fish. And you guesses what I'm talking about?
Well, it's got to be the Daimler Dart, isn't it? And also, if
Exactly.
you like the rear of the Dart, that's because it looks a bit like the rear of the Sunbeam Alpine, doesn't it? It's got
Yeah, it
those
does.
fins on it. So you
But
like
round
the
the
rear.
front, though, ugh,
Yeah, it's
what's
horrible.
going on there?
It's funny because they came up with this design, and actually, if you look at modern cars now, particularly modern Aston Martins and modern Mercedes sports cars, they've all got this guppy fish mouth because it's aerodynamic. The problem with the Daimler is it wasn't aerodynamics, it was just cost. They just came up with this design purely to save money because it was a fiberglass body. And if you look at the front of it and the middle of it and the end of it, they're just not connected. The doors are
No.
like no man's land because the front and the back look completely different.
It does look really odd. I mean, I feel I should like these, but just the look of it just looks really odd. Because actually, to drive it, they're quite nice cars, aren't they?
Fantastic V8 engine. It's a Hemi V8, so it's only a small 2.5 litre, but it's a very quick car. The police used them in Bedfordshire on the M1 when it had just opened. It's just the look of them. They were fiberglass just to save money. The actual car itself was based on a TR3 chassis. They kind of cribbed the design a bit and just didn't get it right. It was too wobbly to begin with. And then I think Jaguar bought Daimler and made it a bit better underneath, but it still looked ugly.
I'm glad to see you've not put the Morris Minor on this list because I would have had to stop
I
you in
can't.
your
I'd have
tracks
to go
there.
in hiding again.
But you've put something else on here that is a British classic, a Ford Anglia. What's the matter with you?
Oh, God, Ford Anglia. Dame Edna. That's what I think when I look at a Ford Anglia. It's all swoops and bits in the wrong position. I mean, look at the side-on photograph of this. This is on your screen now. It's a 1960 Ford Anglia 105E Deluxe. So it's
Yeah.
the top of the tree. But look at the front. The rake of the front windscreen is completely different to the rake of the rear windscreen. So it's got this look like it's just crashed into a lorry. It's an ugly looking car, the
Well,
Anglia.
yeah, but you've had the Citroen Ami on here before, and you've gone, oh, look at that rakish back screen and all that stuff. That's pretty much the same design as this.
No, because it matches. This is the problem with this. Again, it's a different car from the front and the back. And I like those Citroens because there's a kind of quirky design language to it. But remember, this is from Ford, who went on to replace this car with a beautiful looking Mark I Escort.
I think you're on a sticky wicket with that one because it's a Harry Potter car, isn't it now? So people are
Oh, who
people
cares?
well, you clearly don't. I think you're wrong on that. Oh, look at that picture underneath. It's quite clean underneath.
Yeah, that's the best view of it, to be honest, underneath, up on a ramp.
We'll come back to this one. Maybe it's a crush or caress car, and I will fight for its survival. Talking of dodgy Fords, you remember the Granada sort of like morphed into something, didn't it? Which was like supposed to be really luxurious, but ended up just looking like a more of a blob than the latest Granada. Have a look at this 1998 Ford Scorpio. And I never quite understood these because these were supposed to be like, wow, top of the range. But they were just ugly, especially from the front, weren't they?
Yeah, the Scorpio was terrible because the Granada before it was quite good. In fact, all the Granadas, the Mark I, Mark II, and Mark III, were quite good looking. Now, there's a big fact about the Scorpio that tells you all you need to know is that Ford never released the name of the designer.
Oh, right. Okay. Stevie Wonder.
He's still in hiding. That's the problem. Because it was just, again, this is one of those designs that's incoherent. The front and the back are two different cars, and there's just a couple of doors shoved in the middle. It's a funny car, the Scorpio, because it drove quite nicely. I remember I took a taxi drive once, and the driver drove a Scorpio. So I got into it and said, why are you driving a Scorpio? And he said, well, I was just made redundant. And as the extra kicker, they let me keep my company car, which is a Scorpio.
How cruel. That's like twisting the knife. Actually, looking at the side-on picture, it's a refresh, isn't it? That's the Granada with a horrible new front end on it. It looks like a cheapo refresh, doesn't it?
Ford launched this with a big load of hoo-ha about it, saying it was a great design. But remember, it was up against, Merc W124 was out at the same time, which is a really good resolved design. Something like, I don't know, the E38 BMW 7 Series out at the same time, roughly competing in this sector. But how Ford could just deliver something that looks so ugly is weird, and it suffered terribly in the sales. charts. It just didn't do anything.
Let's move on to, let's pick a manufacturer that is famous for probably one of the most beautiful cars in the world. I mean, the Jag E-Type is, Enzo Ferrari's favorite, as we talked about before. One of the most iconic designs. They have put a couple of clunkers out, though, especially in more recent times. Have a look at this one. I've driven one of these, and I was really, really underwhelmed with it. But it doesn't look much better either. It's an S-Type, and there's a Ford connection with this, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, Ford owned Jag at this time, but this S-Type, it was just a weird thing because it was trying to hark back to their glorious past of the S-Type of the Mark II Jags, but it just made it a pastiche that wasn't modern and it wasn't classic, and it just, again, had really weird Ford-style headlights. Ford have got some history in bodging headlight design.
Yeah, I never thought this was particularly ugly. I mean, it has got sort of XJ cues in it. The interior was nice until you actually got in and looked at it, and then you realised most of it was out of a Mondeo or the parts bin, wasn't it? And I drove one of these once, and it was just so underwhelming. It was just like driving a Ford. It was not luxurious at all. The driving position's not nice. It just felt, ugh. It didn't feel special, which Jags always should really feel special, shouldn't they?
It was a Ford bodge. That
Yeah.
grille looks like a cat's arse, doesn't it? It just looks all wrong.
They say the whole is greater than some of its parts. Well, it wasn't in this case, was it? It was the whole was less than the parts out the parts bin, wasn't it? It was just a forgettable Jag.
I don't think Jag should ever be forgettable. They've always got to be stylish and rakish, and they've got to have some kind of charm to it. That's just a charmless, modern 1990s design that with a Jaguar badge grafted onto the front.
Now, talking of car manufacturers who've made beautiful things, let's talk about Aston. Let's go from the DB5 to this clunker from the 80s, the Aston Martin Lagonda. Now, we saw this one, the white one, at Haynes Museum in Somerset. And if you want to go and see one and remind yourself of what a weird car it is, go to Haynes Museum and have a look at it. But just from every angle, I remember it being a bit weird. I remember reading about it in books and then seeing it in real life back in the day. I think it was very, because that was super expensive, wasn't it? But now it's just not dated very well at all, is it?
I quite like these.
Which bit do you like? Because I can't find anything I like.
But it's a wedge. And we talked about some of the designs that are different front and back. At least this is consistent throughout. It's wedge at the front, wedge in the middle, and wedge at the back. I mean, okay, the doors, if you look at the front door and the back door, they're different shapes and sizes, and the lines are going at different angles. So, yeah, the design was a bit flawed. But at least
flawed.
Yeah.
It looks like a Lincoln Town car that's gone through a mangle.
I quite like the Lincoln Town car as well, though.
It's not. And then when you get inside as well, I mean, we're talking fugly. I mean, I want to talk about interiors. What was going on there? They must have been on drugs doing that one because it's so bizarre. It's such an odd thing. It's like button frenzy. It's got this sort of Citroen style one spoke tilted steering wheel, and then some sort of Buck Rogers style futuristic dashboard with lots of touch buttons and stuff like that, which you can guarantee probably broke.
Although I think they had to replace them all, didn't they? Because it was touchscreen technology before it existed. And so you had to try and press these buttons and they didn't work. So I remember they spent a fortune on warranty claims, basically putting in new dashes.
Yeah, so if you've got an ugly classic or you want to defend, drive a Camargue or a Dart or an Anglia or a
Sorry.
Sportboat. Well, yeah, sorry about that. I mean, we were careful not to say anything too near those Camargue owners, weren't we? But if you
we
drive
didn't
a
say it to
classic,
their face, did we?
No,
Just said it
no.
behind their back.
I've just run away and talked into a mic
Oi,
about
ugly,
it. Oi.
leg it.
If you've got one of those cars and you want to defend it, or you want to add one to the list, or you want to kind of reason with us, do drop us a line. Tell us why we're right or we're wrong. You can get in touch with us in the usual way via Instagram or via Facebook. Here's how to do it.
We're at the Tyre Kickers UK on Instagram and the Tyre Kickers on Facebook.
Well, you're listening to episode 38. Still to come on the show, should we buy a cheap modern MG or just tell it to MG F off? And are we being too idle? We'll discuss classic car warm-up routines. But first, let's update you with what we've been doing since we last spoke. Max, how's the 1980s SL Dream Machine doing?
I've just got it back, actually, from the first service that I've done to it. So up until now, I've been driving it reasonably gingerly, having not known, the spark plugs, the oil, blah, blah, blah. But actually, now I've had the first service done, it's driving really well. And I don't know whether this is a kind of psychosomatic thing or whether it's the truth, but cars after you've had them serviced just seem to go better.
Yeah. Is that imaginary or is that
I don't
real?
know.
I think it's imaginary with modern cars because all they do is change the oil and plug it into a laptop, don't they? But I think when there is that thing when you have a service of your daily car and you think, oh, it does drive a bit tighter. What they've done is literally just change the oil and and the air filter. However, on a classic car, if it's been to a specialist and they've gone through it, they can make the difference, can't they, in terms of drive? Do you feel it is running better then now?
I do, and it's imperceptible. I can't actually say what is different, but it just feels more together. It just feels smoother. It ticks over a little lower. It just starts a bit better. I mean, that's probably the plugs, isn't it? But it's one of those strange things, isn't it? You just got more confidence in the car. And actually, because I've got the service history dating back for quite some time on this car, I kind of had a quick look back at the invoices. And over 20 years, it's been serviced roughly at the SL shop. And I think over 20 years, it's done about 20,000 miles and it's cost about £20,000. So about £1,000 a year for 1,000 miles a year. That's not bad, actually, is it?
That's why it's running better, because your wallet is lighter and you've cut down on the weight. So it's running better. You took it to the SL shop, which is obviously, putting your money in a good direction on that car. I mean, obviously they're high end. Courtesy car, what did you get? Something good? Pagoda? Something like that?
Well, if you go to a classic Mercedes specialist, I would hope you're going to get a classic Mercedes, because I was driving there thinking, what are we going to get? W123, W124, W201? What's it going to be? So I excitedly dropped my car off and said, right, what is it? Show me to the car park, because, you're surrounded by all these old Mercs, hundreds of them. And they led me to a 2024 Hyundai i10 Auto, which is the most disappointed I've been since Christmas 1979. I mean, it was just awful. So I said, okay, yeah, thanks. Well, I suppose it's got aircon because it was a hot day, so it'll get me home, blah, blah, blah. 90-minute drive home.
Did they look at you and look you up and down and go, oh, hold on a minute, let me ask. Dave, have we got the Honda Jazz? No, is that out? Right, no, get him the i10. Yeah, auto probably, because he looks like he can't do the gears.
Terrible auto box. I mean, you and I moan about our 1970s and 1980s autos. This was a 5-speed kind of automated manual. And if you floor it coming off a roundabout, because in a small car, I don't know whether this is just perspective.
Were you flooring it coming off a roundabout by any chance?
In a small car, the big truck coming towards you looks even bigger, doesn't it? So you floor it, and then this car goes, then it slows down to change into second, then it goes into third. What an awful gearbox. I mean, this is a 2024 car. How could it be so bad? How could they have gone so backwards? So anyway, I talked to them about this when I dropped the car off, and I said, could you not have, classic courtesy cars, W123, W124, W201. And they said, no, it just costs too much to run them.
Oh, what a lovely thought that is. Well, I've been tooling around in my new Stag for a couple of weeks now, and I got a service on it as well, and that did make a difference. There was a £700 bill as well. I'm sort of starting to find out what needs doing, as you do when you start having a car. Fortunately, at the moment, it's little stuff. The service sorted out most of the stuff. Although I've got this really annoying thing that's developed, the belt screech when it's cold, which is really embarrassing, because it only does it when it's cold. So if the car's sat for a while at a car meet and I start up, it's like... So I obviously need the belts looked at. They're slipping on something. It's only doing it when it's cold, but it's just really annoying. So I'm going to stick some silicone belt dressing on it for now, and I'll put it back to the specialist. And then the back number plate started peeling off as well. I was like, what the hell's going on? And I look back.
What's it made out of?
Well, it's a Perspex. It's a black and silver, but a Perspex, and it's like a
hang on a minute.
sticker.
What's the registration number underneath it? Is it something completely different?
Yeah, it's completely different. Yeah, it matches
Is it Ford
the scratch.
Fiesta?
Matches the scratched off VIN number. But no, it's a weird number plate. It's how a Perspex plate is normally Perspex, and then something's stuck to the back of it. Well, this is the other way around. It's like a sticker on top of it. And looking back on the original photos, it was starting to peel, and I just missed it. Anyway, I managed to find the replacement one and put that back on, but that was a bit embarrassing. It wasn't good, because it was the first thing I saw when I opened the garage. Oh, bloody number plate! But otherwise, it's running great. We'll talk about it later on in the show, but you've had a go in it. I'm not frightened to take it on motorways. I'm happy to give it a heavy right foot. I've been giving it an Italian tune-up anyway, because I think that's good for a car, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Because I don't think your Stag was used much before you bought it.
No, I don't think it was. I think it did about 500 miles in the last year. I've done 600 already.
Yeah, but that's great. That's what they need. They need to be used. Particularly a carburettor V8 engine. It needs exercise. And actually, when we went out on it a few days ago, it was a corker, wasn't it? It was hammering down the M3, sounding fantastic.
Yeah, and I think that's good for the engine. It's not so good for my wallet, though, to be honest. I mean, the fuel gauge goes down at an alarming rate. In fact, I went and filled up a couple of days ago, and the guy in the petrol station said, "Would you like a loyalty card?" I thought, what's he know? I don't. Perhaps I should get one, because I reckon I probably have the old decanter set by now. It does suck the fuel. I mean,
Yeah, but you're the only stag owner who's looking at the fuel gauge because everybody else is looking at the
the
temperature gauge.
temperature. Well, the temperature's behaving itself, actually. It hasn't gone over halfway, which is really, really good. It's definitely more of a sleeper classic than having a red 60 sports car. Having a brown 70 sports car, people don't clock it first off straight away, which I don't know whether I like or I don't, because I quite liked being a bit of a neck snapper in the other one. I quite like that because people do. It was so shiny, my red car before.
I
That,
think it might be also, remember, with the Stag, you are going past faster than you were in the Alpine, so people have less time to react because it is, it's a relatively fast car, the Stag.
yeah, maybe that's the case. I mean, definitely it's more usable. I'm using it more. It's definitely easier to drive because it's power steering, and it's automatic. It's not as the effort of driving it isn't the same as driving it before. I mean, who knows? After a couple of years, I might want that effort of driving a manual car again. But at the moment, I'm really enjoying it. So I've got a list of current things to do. I've got to fix the radio in the next week, sort out that belt squeal, and get the engine bay cleaned as well because it's just a little bit scruffy, and I just would like that clean just so I can pop the bonnet up and not feel embarrassed about it.
Time now to get your views on what we've been talking about in previous shows.
Yeah, we mentioned we hit 30,000 downloads since we started up last year, and a few of you were kind enough to give us a slap on the back.
Joel Benton on Instagram says, well done, you're crushing it. Not literally, though, thankfully. That's a good point. We haven't done a crush or caress for a while. Maybe Ford Anglia.
Ford Anglia. Mark Dempsey says, congrats, guys. You deserve it. It's a great listen. Thank you, Mark.
KCD MGBGT says, congrats, lads. Keep them coming. We are trying.
We are trying. It's a bit of effort, though, isn't it? And Matthew Strong says, well done from the poolside in Bali. Oh, nice show, isn't it? Can you top that? Have you listened to this podcast anywhere? Where are you listening? Is it more glamorous than a poolside in Bali? I quite fancy that. Can we do the show from a poolside in Bali?
That'd be
We've
nice.
got the budget for that.
No, we did have one listener when I looked at the stats once in Iran.
Well, look, if you tell us where you are listening to us, because obviously we can see sort of rough stats of where you are, but tell us what you're doing. Well, tell us what you're doing if it's clean. Are you trapped under a car? Are you doing time at His Majesty's pleasure? Let's go for the best location, please. Whatever more glamorous.
Can you get the internet in a prison?
Yeah, but we're looking for more glam, aren't we? I suppose. So, are you on a desert island? Are you, somewhere glamorous? Are you in the Caribbean? Wherever. Let us know. Let's go for the best location. We'll stick a post up on Instagram and Facebook and see if we can get a bit of interest going, because we're fascinated of where you are. While we're talking about listeners, a big hello if you've just got into listening to this nonsense. I have to listen to him Twitter on, so
lucky.
It's reassuring to know that you're also sharing that burden.
Don't be a lurker. Comment on our social media stuff or send us a message. We do really like the interaction. Otherwise, we're just sat here talking to ourselves, or I'm talking to him, and I'm not sure which is worse.
You love it. You're lucky. Thanks to all of you who said nice things about my new stag. Lots of you are very complimentary about Bruno the Stegosaurus. As
You're giving it a name, Bruno.
Yeah, it's been christened in this house. So, yeah, like I say, I didn't go looking for a brown car, but lots of you have said nice things. And I think, what did you think of the colour? Because it's a bit unusual, isn't it?
Well, it's not factory. Because interestingly, when we were doing a test about who can put the hood up fastest, we found the original factory russet brown, didn't we, underneath the kind of tonneau cover.
In the hood bin.
And it's actually really an awful colour, isn't it? So your colour is much better than factory, even though it's not original.
Yeah, whatever. I've got a couple of favours to ask you, the dear audience, while we're here as well. First up, Apple reviews. Oh, no, here we go. They say, begging for reviews again, blah, blah, blah. Look, in this digital world, though, the thing is you're toast if you don't keep hustling. So, our last Apple review was back in May. So
what?
Could we...
No one has reviewed us since May.
No, I know. Well, they're enjoying it too much, so don't even think about it.
Look, that's right, yeah.
Could we beg you for some more, please? I mean, it's pretty shameless begging, but we'll do it. 5 stars and a few words. It's all we ask of you. Now, obviously, only if you've enjoyed it. Don't put hater stuff on there. But if you can put 5 stars on...
Just shut up if you don't like it.
Put 5 stars on our Apple review and a couple of nice words. It will help us trick the Gen Z nerds over at Apple into boosting us up the car podcast ratings. Because we are on a quest, aren't we, to beat one particular podcast, aren't we, Max?
Well, the scratch and sniff.
Yeah. Whatever it's called. Yeah. They're number one. I don't know why they're number one. We're
because they're better than
harder.
us. How about that?
Well, I don't know.
Got more listeners.
Yeah,
Funny.
Well, that is the reason. So yeah, if you could put an Apple review, and we've got another desperate grovel, haven't we, as well?
Yeah, please, a bit of word of mouth. Old-fashioned gob marketing. If you enjoy our witterings, it helps kill a boring car journey, for example, or enables you to not speak to the other half. I have to speak to Matt, though. Could you recommend us to a mate, for example? Just point them in our direction, and we'll do the rest.
Don't forget, You can find us at The Tyre Kickers UK on Instagram and The Tyre Kickers on Facebook.
It's the Tyre Kickers, episode 38, still to come. To idle or not to idle, we'll try to work out what is the best warm-up routine for our classic cars. Driveway or just driving it?
But first, I can't help feeling an open-top MG would be great at this time of year to drive to a beer garden and be attacked by wasps. But which MG? The A, let's face it, is quite basic. Everybody else in the world has got a B. The C's more expensive. The D was pre-war. And Jag had the letter E. So that just leaves the MG F.
I've always felt these were just a little bit too modern, but you know what, Max? As time kicks in, they are sort of aging quite nicely. I mean, and as you mentioned, an A, B, or C, it does look nicer. All of those cars look nicer, but they're all going to be more work to live with, aren't they? As old cars are. And for a younger crowd, and we know the younger crowd is driving the desirability of modern classics. The F has got that modern classic thing going on in spades, doesn't it? Plus, it's mid-engine, which is a bonus. I just can't help thinking they just look a bit Austin Rover.
Yeah, well, forget all that because the main key point about the MGF is now the price. The price is just so amazing on these that you can't really ignore them, to be honest. I'm going to throw one up on your screen now. This is a 2001 MGF, 83,000 miles in lovely blue, and this is 3,495. I mean, that is such a cheap car for what you get. Mid-engine, British sports car. What else could you want? Well, it's got MG on the nose, so everything is taken care of.
Nicer interior? That's what I'd like. It
Hmm.
looks a bit. That's
It's
just
all right.
actually, it's all right. This one's all right. As you say, it's in that nice blue. The seats look really good. Actually, they have been cannibalized, these MGF seats, for a lot of things. I'm surprised there's so many left. But the steering wheel, but it's actually okay. Do you know what? It's better than I remember it. I think 10 years ago these just felt a bit nothing, neither here or there, neither fish nor fowl. But I think now that looks like a really good, fun sports car for not a lot of money. And as you say, the mid-engine thing just adds to it. That's going to make it more fun to drive, isn't it? Surely.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, they really did handle well. I have spun an MGF coming off a
Oh,
wet roundabout
there's a surprise.
when I had somebody in my rearview mirror that I was looking at, and then suddenly I floored it and he was in my windscreen. So there was something quite dramatically wrong, possibly with the tires, with the road. It's nothing to do with the driver. But the MGF is a really sweet handling car. It's got a very short wheelbase, and they do bounce around a fair bit. They've got that lovely hydrogas suspension, which does make it very different to all the other classic cars. I mean, different because it's a bit more expensive to maintain, but it does drive in a very different way. I think the MGFs are really good, and they've been kind of forgotten a bit, but they shouldn't be. They had a problem, let's face it. And I'm going to shock you with this because it was a British sports car that overheated.
No
Ring any
way.
bells?
No way. No,
But
I
it
can't
had a
believe
very
it.
small, very small coolant capacity in the MGF engine, as the K series, and it was used in the Lotus Elise as well as the gearbox. So it's a good engine, but it did go through head gaskets and warp a bit. So as long as you keep on top of it, and there are head gasket fixes for that now, it is a really good engine. It's peppy, it's revvy, it's nice, and it's a great package.
I'm just going through that, actually. The pictures, that's a lot of car for 3,500, isn't it? And it's in a nice colour. Normally, like the cheap end of the market is sort of stuff that doesn't look that great, but it's in that metallic blue that you'd like. The wheels look good. The interior looks great. It doesn't look like it's the cheap version of it. I don't know if it came in different trim levels, but it looks nice. You'd have fun in that in the summer. That is a great weekend car. Is it probably going to be like a classic car? It's a modern classic, isn't it? We've talked about this a lot, but you're probably going to just have
What's
to
that tone
service
in
that
your voice when you
once a
said the
year.
words modern classic? Automatically, you're getting a
It's not.
little bit sarcastic.
Yeah. Where's the chrome on the bumper? There's no chrome on the bumper.
You don't
But
always need chrome, though.
is that going to be fairly easy to live with? I would have thought so, wouldn't it?
Yeah, pretty much, because it's an MG. There's lots of specialists around that look after them. And again, they do have engine problems, but the engine problems can be sorted. If it's well maintained, it should be all right. And there's lots and lots of special editions. If you look for, I think it was the Trophy 160, that was 160 brake horsepower MGF. And that actually shifts because it's quite a light car. I think the 0 to 60 time is around 7 seconds. Variable valve timing, good brakes. I think they're really good cars to buy now because again, 3,500 is the one we picked, but there's ones cheaper than that out there. There's an entry level model, which I think was a 1.6, but there's lots of special editions with lots of gear on them that look good.
So this is sort of give it a comparison. It's sort of BMW Z4 money, and then that's a great car as well. But I don't know. There's something a bit more fun to this. This has got an edge on it because it's an MG and also because it's mid-engined as well. So that makes it interesting. And I think it's dated all right. Actually, I think it's dated really well.
I think if you're looking at this segment, everybody's going to say buy an MX-5, and then everybody else ends up in an MX-5. But this is a very, very different proposition. And you're right, like you said, it's mid-engine. There aren't that many cars around that are mid-engine that are good. And so I think it's something a bit different. And it's British, and of course it has classic overheating problems. So it's a great thing to kind of get involved in. Good clubs, MG clubs are fantastic. And again, like I said, parts, cost. I mean, what's not to like about an MGF? Apart from the rust. They do rust a bit.
But I think it's great. I mean, there's certain foibles, there's certain things that make me roll my eyes, there's wing mirrors and the interior and that sort of stuff. But I think that's really, really minuscule compared to actually how well this is dated.
It's a fun car. Just beware. If it's wet, if you're coming off a roundabout, it can be a bit of a handful.
Right then, Max, I'm just going to just fire the car up. I've just got this old Mini here. I just need to run for a little bit. I'm just going to run it on the drive for a little bit because you need to warm a car up, don't you?
Well, do you? I mean, do you really need to warm it up, or should you drive it?
Well, I don't know, because there's two schools of thought about this. I mean, do you leave it on the drive for 10 minutes and warm it up and only drive it when it's sort of getting sort of near temperature? Or do you, as kind of I sort of do, is warm it up a little bit and then drive it off slowly? What's the wisdom on this? You're our wise owl on these things. What should we do?
Well, I'd just like to point out, first of all, that neither of us are mechanics, so we are probably quite wrong here. But I think, as opposed to what you do, which I think is exactly the wrong thing to do, surprise, surprise, I don't think you should leave them ticking over on the drive, because the problem with that is that the oil pressure isn't high enough. So you kind of, if it's ticking over at 600 RPM, when it's just still cold, the oil pressure hasn't built up enough to get the oil around the engine. So I think that's doing more damage. What I was told to do years and years ago was to get the car started and then drive it as soon as. If you have to get it up to kind of like 1500 RPM, that's good. That's where it should be, because then you've got the oil pump working and you've got oil circulating around the engine. I think ticking over is probably the worst thing you can do.
But I've had mechanics tell me that you need to warm them up first before you drive them. And if you go to a classic car mechanics, they're always running the cars up, aren't they? Before they start using them, and they're idling.
They should be running up at a higher revs than tick over. Because if you think about this in a modern car now, if you start a modern car, it looks after itself. And what it does is it goes up to 1200, 1300 RPM for a bit to get the oil pressure going. And then the oil pressure sensor goes, bing, you're up to pressure. And then it drops back down. So modern cars fast idle when you first turn them on and then drop down. Because I think that's really what you're meant to do.
Yeah, I think in a modern car, you're supposed to start it up, put your belt on and get moving. It's not good to sit around. I mean, I know with my old car, I shouldn't just start it and drive off like I would in my daily car. The oil does need to move. But at the same time, of the school of thought that too much idling isn't good, both for the car or the neighbours, actually. Because my current one, obviously the stag is not quiet, especially at 7:30 on a Sunday morning when I'm heading out to a breakfast meet. And the Sunbeam wasn't particularly quiet. But on a classic car, what I tend to do, and tell me if you think this is the right thing to do, I tend to get the car, start the car, and then move it out the garage, just leave it on the drive just a little bit, for a minute or two, maybe a couple of minutes, and just sort of sit on the revs a little bit, and put the choke in slightly.
Yeah,
and then that's the time to sort of start. What were you doing about?
I see. I think there's two things here. Firstly, with a choke, I think you should get the choke in as quick as possible, because I was taught with a choke car that basically you turn it over a few times with the choke in just to get the oil moving around the engine. Then you start the car with the choke out, get it going, drive as quickly as possible, get the choke in as quickly as possible, as long as it won't stall, just to stop the choke being out for as long as possible, and then get it driving. Because what I tend to do in the SL is a bit different. As soon as I start it when it's cold, I get it moving, but I try not to go over 3000 revs for the first 7 miles. It's not revving too much, and you're giving the car a chance to get warm quickly. Because with idling, the pressure's not up and it doesn't get that warm. And also, here's a fact I've looked up.
Fact?
70% of engine wear happens at the start-up and warm-up period. So you've got to get that right. So I think you need to warm it up quicker.
It does depend on the car, though. My last car was very choke dependent. And if I'd have put that choke in before I hit the lights at the end of the road, it would have stalled. So it needed more choke. This one, is less choke dependent. In fact, it wants to choke in as soon as possible. Thank you very much, because it would like to suck up more petrol on its own accord rather than having it forced in. The other thing that we don't really talk about, and perhaps we should talk about, is your routine, your knack of starting your car. I've not quite figured it for the Stag, actually. There is an oddity in the Stag, that in order to pull the choke out, you have to press the accelerator pedal because it doesn't want to come otherwise. So it's connected. It's some sort of bad engineering where it's sort of connected together. But if you just touch the accelerator pedal, the choke comes out quite easily. But there is a sort of a knack. Certainly with my Sunbeam, there was a knack. It was a mechanical fuel pump, so you had to turn it over to, as you say, to get the fuel up, and then pull the choke right out, then start it on some revs, then put the choke half in straight away, otherwise it would splutter. But then it would sit in that, and then you'd probably have to have that choke. You just have to feather that in for probably about a mile, 2 miles. Otherwise it would just go, no, I'm stopping, like a dog that didn't want to walk any further. So that's different to the Stag. But we all have you all develop a knack, don't you, with whatever car you're in, and you know the knack.
But this is the kind of mechanical sympathy that sets classic cars apart from modern cars, because in modern cars it's all looked after and you don't even need to think about anything. But I do think you should get driving as soon as possible.
So what? Just to be clear, then, what are you telling me I should do in my Stag? What is it? What I'm doing, but just put the choke in more, or so warm it up for a couple of minutes and then get driving it gently?
Turn it over with the choke in, so basically get some oil around the cylinders. As soon as you start it, get driving it. Don't leave it ticking over idling at 600 RPM, because it's not got the oil pressure to it. So I think you need to completely change your routine. Basically, have a wee, get your coffee sorted, get your hat on, do all that before you start the car. And as soon as you start the car, pull your driving gloves on, drive off.
Okay. Right. Do you agree with Max? Let us know on that. There's also another thing, isn't there? I've not thought about this too much, but cooling as well. You've got this thing about turbo engines, haven't you?
So if you're on the motorway, for example, and in a turbo engine, which is most modern cars, you don't just pull into the service station and turn it off. What you've got to do is leave it ticking over for 60 seconds. So that's a kind of tick over on the other end of the equation. When your car is hot, you can let it tick over to cool down a bit and get the oil moving around.
Is that fact, or is that something just some urban myth that you've been told?
For turbos, it's fact. I always like to leave my Merc engine ticking over for a bit after I finish the run, just to let it cool down, yeah.
Okay. So, right, listeners, are we right or are we wrong? Let us know. In fact, here's someone to explain it better for us.
Shoot us a note on our socials and let us know. We're at the Tyre Kickers UK on Instagram and the Tyre Kickers on Facebook. You're listening to the Tyre Kickers with Max and Matt.
That's it for this episode. Next time, we're doing a road test of both our cars as my Mercedes SL faces off against his Triumph Stag.
Yes, we'll do a proper old-style magazine group test between our two cars, the Triumph engine versus the Mercedes one.
A very hot V8 versus a cool straight six.
All right. BL factory bodges versus Mercedes Germanic build quality.
Donkey jacket versus neat overalls.
And we'll find out how easy it is to get their top off when you need to.
We're talking roofs here, and here is a hint. The Stag is quite difficult.
Yeah, they were arch rivals back in the day in the 70s, so we'll finally decide which was best.
I'm going to make sure we do it on a really hot day in traffic.
In that case, I'm going to check my coolant.
So until we kick some more tyres together, it's bye from me.
And it's a bye from him. Bye!
Trouble is, I'm exhausted now.
Have a lie down.
Given everything I've got.